Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside Podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside Podcast. I am Joe Panther III, and man, fans, you're in for a treat. Today, I have a fellow podcaster that's breaking ground. He's making himself look even cooler than he already does. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Jon from Around the Ropes podcast. Welcome, Jon. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I great job with the intro, by the way. It really looks good.
Thank you. The intro of the video, because my buddy Rain that does my my Ghost Head Nerd Talk podcast. She is an awesome lady. She's a DJ. She's a roller derby girl. That's my heart and soul of my nerd culture best friend. So shout out to Rain. You're my doll, girl. Thank you for the video. That's my rock. She keeps my nerd in me. Keeps it from coming out. She keeps trapping it and putting it in my face. Keeping it going.
I feel like we're all nerds if we're all wrestling fans.
Yeah, I tell her that, but I have to explain her I try to explain to her pro wrestling and nerd, and she still goes, "Does it fall into the same tree?" Kinda, like kinda does, you know.
Yeah, it depends.
So, Mr. Jon, where did this start for you? The love of like professional wrestling. Where did it start?
It's an interesting story, and I'm glad you asked that question. I was like everybody else, watching the Attitude Era growing up. I mean, I was young, so I didn't really understand a lot of it. And I always knew Monday nights by 9 o'clock. I always knew, okay, Dad's watching Raw. I can't watch because, when you're 8, 9 years old, and the first thing you see is bra and panties, you kind of don't know what that really is.
Yeah. I
fell out of it in about 01, 02. Basically, right before like Cena and Orton and all them came up, I fell out of it because everybody kept telling me, "Oh, wrestling is fake, and I was like, "Well, why am I watching this?" Stopped watching till about 2013 when I went away to college. I had a sweet mate. I went to York College, PA, and had a sweet mate who was a diehard wrestling fan. He had WWE 2K, I think it was 2K13 at the time. I was like, oh, okay, I remember this growing up. And then I remember the first pay-per-view I saw was Hell in the Cell 2013. The one that it was Ryback on the front, on the cover, or R-Truth, one of them. That was like the weird moment where like R-Truth was getting that really small push.
I remember that, yeah.
And what got me back into it, honestly, and I say this story vividly, WrestleMania 30, the storyline with Daniel Bryan. That's what caught me back into it, and I will still say to this day is one of the greatest storylines I've ever seen because it's incredibly relatable to everyday people.
Awesome. So what was your very first event, either indie or regular stage, that you were like, man, this stuff is really my hook, even though you knew about the video game? Like when you first went to a show, what was the first match you ever saw live that you were like, this is my jam?
Well, let me go with because I don't remember the first WWE show. I think it was probably a house show I went to over on Long Island. But I think for indie, because that's kind of where I made my name the last couple of years, was for a company called Breed Combination Wrestling. They do a lot of their shows out of Ridgewood Park, New Jersey, out of a building called the Mecca. There's other names for it, but I will not say them on air. If you know, you know. And there was a Darius Carter match. And when I saw him, and this is literally probably the start of the podcast, I was like, you know what? This is where I want to kind of make my bread and butter, talking to a lot of these guys and going to a lot of these shows. Because I said this now, I mean, I go to shows now. I work 5 days a week, and I'm on the road basically every Saturday. If not, I'm on the road both days.
Wow.
And I also travel. The minimum I'll travel for a show, not because I want to, but it just works out, is the minimum I'll travel is 2 hours. Most shows that I travel to are anywhere from 2 hours and up. It's like, for me, one of them that I travel to quite a bit is a company called UWE, which does tape-ins in Oneida, which is an hour outside of Syracuse.
Mm.
And I've done that trip already in one day. It's a long day because I got to leave my house at like 8 o'clock in the morning, get there by 2. They do the tape-in. I leave there by about 7, 8 o'clock. I'm not back in my house till about 2 a.m.
Oof.
Yeah, I've done plenty of trips. I've had plenty road stories. I sound like I'm a wrestler now when I say that I have road stories, but no, I do. Trust me, I definitely have some road
Do you have
stories.
any like funny ones that you could talk about on the air that won't get you in trouble by anybody?
Yeah, actually, there is one. There's a company I was working with called Immortal Championship Wrestling.
I know that.
And they had done a show last August in the Utica Nexus Center. And I went with the ring announcer, Ryan Peterson. Obviously, many people know Ryan Peterson as one of the best ring announcers on Long Island. And we did the trip from Utica because we both live on Long Island. I don't know if you remember the night where we had that really bad monsoon storm.
Ooh.
Yeah, me and Ryan drove from Utica back to Long Island with that storm.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was not fun because that one, I remember, literally, I'm on the thruway. And normally on the thruway, you're going 50, 60. Yeah, I was going no faster than 5 miles an hour because I could not see in front of me. Normally, if shows like that, I'm first getting home about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I didn't get home that day till 5 a.m.
Mm.
Yeah, I've had that story. Then I actually have a funny one. And when I say this was funny, I mean, on the surface, it sounds stupid. But when I actually tell the story, it's actually kind of funny. Was going up for a tape-in for UWA. And up in Oneida, if you're not from the area, it's almost like another country up there.
Mm.
Because for some reason, once you get past Mount Vernon, nobody believes in streetlights at all. It's like you get past like the Mount Vernon, New Rochelle area, and it's like, yep, we don't know what streetlights are. And I usually get gas after a show because I usually have the longest commute of anybody. I go to make the turn, and I miss the first turn, so I figured, okay, I can go over the grass, not a problem. Yeah, I'll put it this way. It was a ditch.
Oh, no.
Thank God the car wasn't damaged completely, but it was kind of funny because I stood out there and I had a nice pair of shoes. I had a nice coat on, the whole 9 yards, in water that was probably about this deep.
Oh.
Thank God there was a sheriff right there who kind of helped me get the car out. And who looked at me, he's like, how did you miss the turn? And to get myself out of a ticket, because I knew I was probably going to be getting a ticket, I looked at the cop, I said, I'm not from the area, which is true, I'm not from the area. And basically, $100 later, to move the car all of 15 feet, it was fun. But yeah, I've had interesting road stories. I can't tell you how many times I've stopped at Wawa coming home, stopping at, not at Sheetz. I've never actually stopped at Sheetz.
Sheets are not that bad. They sponsor the Special Olympics, so I gotta give them that much happiness because every year I do Special Olympic, they're always giving us their sandwiches and chips and snackies.
When I went to school in York, PA, there was a Sheetz right across the street from the dorm. So I know how their food is. And then the other one I always go to is Stewart's, which is a place in upstate New York.
I know Stewart's.
But most of the stuff, like I'll be the type of guy, I kid you not, I'll stop at a gas station. And I'm not going to go for a gas station sandwich because we don't know how well those are cooked. And a lot of times there's no facilities nearby. So
yeah,
it makes things very interesting. But no, like I'll do that. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I'll say now, I've been going to a couple shows now with my girlfriend. And I forget, because in my head I'm like, oh, I'll just get something on the road. No, now because she's coming with me, a lot of times she'll bring like a bag of snacks. And then I sit there and I'm like, oh, I forgot we have snacks in the car. So like we have like 3 bags of chips sitting in the car. I'm like, forgot, back in my car now looks like aisle 3 of Stop and Shop. But no, it's like I said, I have a lot of. I'm surprised. I give my car a lot of credit. I've had my car now since last July.
Wow.
And that car has started out at 60,000. I think I just checked it yesterday. I think it's over 85. And that's in 1 year.
Got to give your car a big hug when you get out of it. You're like, thank you, friend.
Hey, a lot of times, like I said, I'm going to a show tomorrow, and I'll promote this towards the end down at Seaside Heights. And that's a good 3.5 hour drive for me. Oof. But for what it's being planned, I ain't missing it.
Yeah. And it's also going to be, isn't it? I heard it's supposed to be like 80 degrees tomorrow. So sunblock, friend, sunblock.
Yes.
And wow.
I had also, the other thing also I will say, I found out tomorrow's Jersey Day.
Oh, no.
Because supposedly, not only are they doing the show at the boardwalk, but supposedly the Jersey Shorecast will be in town filming.
Oh yeah, because they're probably doing like another season of the show or whatever it is.
My girlfriend looks at me because, you know, there's sometimes I'll let her drive depending on where we are. And she'll look at me and go, oh, can I drive tomorrow? I'm like, absolutely not. You are not driving tomorrow. Because the thing is, like, I'll let her drive sometimes. We're in upstate because, like, okay, I know the upstate area. It's not an issue. Like, you're going into Seaside Heights the last weekend of the summer with it being Jersey. I'm like, you know how crowded that place is going to be tomorrow?
Oof.
I'm like, I don't want to all sort of worry about, God forbid, her driving. And then next thing I know, I don't have a car anymore because of the fact that she makes a wrong turn and hits somebody.
Or she sees Snooki in the gang and she's like, look, and then you're like, no, pole.
Exactly. And I said that to her. I'm like, oh, you want to go tomorrow because you want to see Mike the situation. Let's call a spade a spade.
Me, it would be Snooki or JWoww.
Yeah. Well, you know, JWoww's married to a wrestler.
Okay, dish. Here's the tea. Who is this?
Zach Clayton.
Oh, wow. Okay. She was with another guy before, the really buff guy with the fade that it was at the high top. The scary looking dude.
Yeah, Zach. I've been, not that I've been there, but one of the companies I work with, Zach Clayton worked for them.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but tomorrow's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, shout out to Titan. They're some really good people. I had the owner when I was still actively doing the podcast with my twin sister, with Sassy, with Twins at Ringside. We had the promoter for Titan, the promoter, and he also promotes another promotion too. We had him on, and man, what a cool dude! What a nice guy! Like super fun, super awesome. Yeah. And shout out to all the wrestlers from all the way up from Savage. PJ Savage, all the way down to the stunner Emily Jade. You guys absolutely. I've not been to a show, but I watch all the clips on the Instagram page, and we had a chance to watch all the videos and the matches. They bring down the house. I'm just hoping to get to a show maybe next year at some point, but I definitely would love to come to Titan. And
absolutely.
So with independent wrestling being so hot since COVID, like, do you have an active list right now in your head of like the best matches you've seen since the wrestling has been back?
Yeah, I have probably the first. There's a lot of them, but a couple of them that come to mind. For a company called Pro Wrestling Magic, again, also wrestles out of the Mecca. They did a match last year at their I think it was their Halloween show, with Darius Carter taking on Danny Moth. Yeah, those guys damn near killed each.
John, you froze. John, you still there? Oh. You froze, John. Oh. Well, John will be right back. He froze. He'll be back. John froze. But John will be right back. He froze, but hope he comes back. Uh-oh, he froze. But yeah, guys, definitely go out and give a follow to Titan Pro Wrestling on Instagram. Go give them a subscribe, check on their YouTube channel. Go give Jon a subscribe to Around the Ropes podcast. He's an awesome guy. He'll be back soon. He froze. But yeah, definitely give me a subscribe here on YouTube and check on the bottom. Go on TikTok. Jon will be back. He froze. But definitely give us a subscribe here on YouTube. Give me a follow on TikTok. Everywhere else you could find the channel, and definitely give Jon a follow. Give him all the love because we love supporting here fellow YouTubers and fellow podcasters. I went to Ben's Fresh and I had 2 hot dogs and a soda. Sorry, the Panther eats and he gets a little memory fluffy. But yeah, I'm seeing Fluffy next weekend too, next Friday in Wind Creek. Wood going to see the Fluffster. Going to see. Oh, there, Jon's back. Jon, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. For some reason, my laptop the last couple of weeks, even if it has full battery, will still turn around and say, "Oh, your computer overheated."
I started giving you shout outs. I'm like, don't forget to subscribe to Jon on YouTube. Go and check him out.
No, you asked me before about the best matches I've seen.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got Danny Moff and Darius Carter. Another one is wrestlers in upstate New York for a company called Dynasty, Sergeant Fury and Punk. And that one actually kind of holds closer to my heart because that one, the whole story changed because of my podcast. And I'll explain that in a second. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Not match per se, but I would say one moment I also remember from indie wrestling is when MJF returned to Creator Pro.
Oh, wow.
I was there for that show.
I know some people that were there, they said that was amazing.
Yeah. The funny thing is, if you see the clip when he returns, and you see on the corner, I think towards the right side of the entrance, you see me standing right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because again, I knew Ryan Peterson, and he was like, "Oh, you know what?" He's like, "You're not going to want to miss this." So I said, "You know what? Let me go." I've gone to every other show. I've not been to Creator Pro at that time, and I went and I had a freaking blast. Now, this quick story with Sergeant Fury and Punk. Back in April, I did a thing on my podcast called Dynasty Week, ahead of their show back in April. I had Punk on and I had Fury on separately. Now, the promoter, Chris Envy, had a whole storyline planned out for these guys. He heard both their interviews with me. He changed the entire story based off the interview. Oh, wow. And it got to the point that before their last show they just did, the Battle of Altamont, I had both of them on together. And if you get a chance, definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
Things got real. Let me put it that way.
Ooh, I like when it gets real on the podcast because it makes people know that this is not a game. People know this is something that's important. And if the person gets real with you, it's not like a stage. We're talking about wrestling. You know what I mean? That's what I do here on Dudes Side. I don't hold
I'll
back.
Put it this way. I don't know how graphic I can get on here.
Mickey Knuckles talked about how she had a doctor give her a surgery on her leg. And if you haven't seen the clip yet, it's on Instagram. Okay, Echo. Yeah, Mickey Knuckles. Let's just say Mickey Knuckles talked about how she couldn't get there was no time for anesthesia, and the doctor just put his hand in her leg and pulled the pieces of a light tube out of her thigh, and she had a piece of the sharp fragment in her leg, and she told the doctor, I feel violated. You're gonna have to give me dinner after this.
Okay, then I guess I can go. When I had Sergeant Fury and Punk on, one of them turned around and said that he was going to eat. Oh, Punk said to Fury, "I'm going to eat your dog."
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It even got to the point of, I think the other comment was, "I'm going to beat you so senselessly, I'm going to shove it down your son's throat or something." I'm like, I'm sitting as a host, I'm going,
yikes.
But the thing is, I knew beforehand what they were doing because we discussed it beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's go. I'm of the mentality. I've been doing this now for 3 years. Let's go for it. And people loved it. And I can't tell you how many people messaged me afterwards saying, "What the hell just happened?" I'm like, that was storytelling. right there.
We back in the day when I was working with my former co-host, we had an episode that we had two rivals come on the podcast. One guy was in one location. He knew what he planned this whole thing. End of the interview, let's just say that they showed up at a warehouse and the guy showed up. We were interviewed at the warehouse. Let's just say things went crazy. The guy showed up with a bat and beat the wrestler, and the camera turned off. And we're like,
wow.
And then at the end of the interview, they came back and we were done. And they're like, guys, everybody's fine. And we both heard the clank. You know that sound when someone hits a softball really well? It's like an Aaron Judge home run in the ninth. Beep.
Yeah.
You heard that sound. I was like, and I lived in CI. I know that sound, that crack. It's like it hit a skull. And I'm like, God, who got hit in the head? Who? My CI voice came out. Went up 10 octaves. I was like, yo, man, who just got hit in the head? Who just got cracked?
When I had Sergeant Fury and Punk on, they weren't in the same room. But we set it up camera-wise. Like, you know how we have the camera set up like this?
Yeah.
We had our set up where it was literally one next to the other. And afterwards, basically, and I'll pull back the card on this one. The whole way we ended it was I turned on to my usual, well, guys, thank you for watching Ronald's podcast. We got to run. We'll catch you guys next time. Then I had the opportunity to hit end. I never hit end, and I cut my camera off. And then that's when things got real.
Ooh.
Yeah, but honestly, I look at this way. Realism in pro wrestling, to me, is what makes it so good. I've said that for a long time. To me, when you get a feud like we're seeing right now with Judgment Day and Liv Morgan and the realism of that, or even with actually not even use Judgment Day, I use a better one, Punk and McIntyre.
Oh yeah. That
to me, I mean, I've said this on my show plenty of times. That match, if you want a great way to culminate that, Bad Blood in October, live from Atlanta, Georgia. Have the main event be a Hell in a Cell match, Punk and McIntyre, and let them go at it.
Oh yeah, blood doesn't matter. Come at me, bro. Oof.
Well, especially I'm of the mentality, and I've had arguments with people that I'm of the mentality that you don't always have to have the title close out a show.
Yeah,
I've said
never.
Like, I'll give you a great example. We go back to all out when Punk made his first return to AEW. And it was Punk versus Darby Allin. And I forgot who the world title match was for that one. I think it must have been we got a comment coming in.
Yes. She's the artist that made my pop.
Oh. Hi, Tracy.
Awesome. She is an awesome artist. You should definitely go check out her Instagram. She draws wrestlers from all over the world, from as far as Mexico and American wrestlers. She does podcasters. She does old school luchas like my grandpa, Jose Quinones, stuff like that. She's a cool wrestling fan. She knows her stuff.
I might look into that because I definitely want to possibly get something for the podcast.
She's cool. She's a sweet person. She's very sweet.
But I remember going back to my thing with Punk. That show, I remember having arguments on the podcast, and I was like, Punk should close out the show. And everybody made the comment, they're like, yeah, but the title. I'm like, yeah, but I look at it this way. Whatever you have the most emotional investment going into a show should be what closes the show out. Like, I look at it as with All In coming up this Sunday, Swerve and Bryan Danielson, to me, I think it's the appropriate match to end the card.
Yeah.
But because they put so much emotional investment in it. But I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah, that's
it's okay. It's okay, dude. It's all right. I love that. I love
again, like I said before, I'm not used to being on this side of the
Remember, I told you I could easily I have the magic. I could just go, look, wow, you're back. You're home.
I'm good. Yeah.
Magic. Flip.
I look at I've done the show now for 3 years. I've interviewed so many people. So it's nice to be on the other side this time.
There's people that I've had on my dream list since I've started this. And the person that opened this is your turn because you're a podcaster and like you are not very familiar with me, but you've probably seen some of my stuff. Because I've done this 4 years. Like, if you want to ask me questions, flip the
All right.
role. Ask
I'll have to,
ask away, my brother. Ask away.
I'll ask, but I know I got a couple of other stories I want to just
There you
talk
go.
about.
Do your stories, and then you can ask me questions. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I know people see the logo that I have right here. The story with that logo is there's an actor. Obviously, if you're a wrestling fan, you know of the show Young Rock on NBC.
Yeah.
The guy who played the Iron Sheik, Brett Azar. We had him on our show, I think, right when season 1 started. And it was a big deal because I was like, wow, this is great. Da, da, da. And then also I was going through his Instagram and I see that he's an artist. So I was talking to him and I said, have you ever drawn a logo? Because at that point we started this podcast November 21st, 2021. And I remember that date verbatim because that was the same night of Survivor Series, was when we started this podcast. To put in better perspective, it was the Survivor Series with the egg. If you remember, they kept promoting that stupid egg, the Rock movie. That was that Survivor Series.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? You see a lot of people now who do their logos and it's all like computer animated. I was like, you know what? I want us to look different. So he said, well, what do you have in mind? I said, I would love to have like a ring on the apron, have the name of the show, and have a microphone in the middle. And he goes, let me see what I can do. He goes, we'll definitely be in contact. A couple weeks go by. He messaged me at about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
And he goes, what type of microphone do you want? And he goes through the whole list of everything. I'm like, let's go the old school mic. Yeah, so this one, there's 2 of these in the world. There's 2 copies of this picture. He has one, and I have one.
That's cool.
But the funny thing is, I saw him right after I gotten this. I had seen him at a show in Malvern, out here on Long Island, and I'm going through the binder, and I'm going through it pretty quickly. And all of a sudden, I happen to see this in there. And I'm like, wait a second. Back up for a second. Back up. Backed up, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at him like, wait, that's the logo. He goes, yeah. He goes, I have a copy of it. So it's nice when I see that logo because I'm like, that's the logo that's given us our identity for 3 years. That people, when they see that logo, they know what they're going to get. Because the one thing with us, and I've had this mindset since I started, is I don't want to be one of these podcasts that keeps everything PG. And I'm not saying that I get raunchy, even though there's been sometimes I've had guests on and turns into Howard Stern. But with us, I want to be truthful. I want to be honest. And I've had it where I've been to shows already, and everybody's like, oh, the show is great, the show is great. And I'm like, yeah, but you're forgetting about this, you're forgetting about this, you're forgetting about this. And I'll come on the show and be like, the show was good. There's a few. But the one thing I'll never say, though, is I'll never say that it was the wrestler's fault. Yeah. I'll never put the blame on the wrestlers. But I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, no. It was either the crowd was dead, the placement of it. There was one time where I blamed the wrestlers. One time. I told you this story before we went live, but I won't mention any names, but there was a show I just went to recently. They actually had to stall the first couple minutes of the show because, and I've been around enough independent wrestlers now that I know if you have a call time of 2 o'clock, for example, let's say the show starts at 5 and the promoter says, oh, you have to be there at 2 o'clock. You make sure you get your ass there by 2 o'clock. They literally showed up. These 2 wrestlers showed up 15 minutes before the show started. Literally, as they were getting everything set up, they come strolling through. Basically, I think they had to stall maybe 10 minutes. They came out, did their match. Match was done. They left, packed up, and left. To me, that is incredibly unprofessional because, and I'll say this right now, and if this gets me heat, I don't care. Unless you're somebody who was in WWE or you were in AEW and you're one of those situations, Okay, you want to show 15 minutes beforehand? Okay, that's one thing. Your name brings value. But it doesn't matter to me what level of independent, when it comes to independent wrestling, nobody on independent wrestling level is bigger than anybody else. And to me, I didn't see.
Oh, sorry. She was saying, sorry. I was trying to pop it up quick. Her favorite wrestlers are from Mexico.
Oh yeah, no, Mexico does have a lot of good wrestlers, but no, my whole thing is nobody's bigger than anybody else when it comes to independent wrestling. And to me, if you're showing up 15 minutes beforehand just to get the payday, then you're not in it for the sport. You're in it because, I get paid. And I get the fact that, okay, you're doing stuff with WWE, whoop-de-doo. Nobody still knows who you are. So to me, it's like, if I look at it as an independent company comes up to me and says, Jon, and I think also what kind of got me going with it was if they were later on in the show, okay, that's fine. Traffic, I get it. But they were the opening match. You want to get there as early as possible. Because I look at it as I'd rather get there early and wait than have to rush and screw something up.
Yeah.
Like because I do camera work for one of these for the company. And I was literally ringside when their match happened. And I kid you not, they actually had a coach ringside telling them what to do.
Wrestling, I understand having, like, I have a job coach at work, but wrestling, my dad would be like, can I get a job? I could coach wrestlers.
Exactly. To me, it's like, but I look this way. That's probably one of my biggest, but the one thing with me, though, is I'm brutally honest. And like I said, I look at it as one thing I've said this on my show now for 3 years is storytelling. That's my biggest thing. And to me, if I have two wrestlers, and this is one of the issues I have with AEW, if I'm going to sit down and watch Dynamite, for example, why am I taking 3 hours out of my Wednesday night to watch your show? What am I getting most invested in? That's one of my biggest gripes right now with AEW. I'm sorry if I keep going on rant here, so I don't know if you have any questions.
Oh no, dude, I'm happy. I love when wrestlers, people go on and they tell their stories. That's what makes independent wrestling podcasting fun. We're here to entertain the fans, but when we're here on the YouTubes, on the Instagrams, on the TikToks, on the X to go live, we're here to entertain the masses and the wrestling fans that want to hear us talk. And that's why I invited you on the show. You're a fellow podcaster. You're an announcer. You're doing big things in the indies. And I saw you and I knew you're like me. You don't need the mic, but like I want to promote you. I want people to know because I feel a bond. And also with the glasses, also glasses man, fellow part of the glasses world. So like now it's your turn to ask the 4-year vet, the man that's grandson to Jose Quinones, put me in the hot seat. If you want to ask me some questions, fire away.
Yeah, no, I definitely have some, and I think one more story I do want to give.
Okay, keep it going. I love stories.
Was I mentioned that this show has been through a lot. This show has been through hell and back. There was at points I didn't think the show was ever going to last, because, like I said before, just to kind of let your fans kind of in on the whole backstory with this. I've been doing this for 13 years.
Wow.
Most of what I've been doing has been sports shows, either baseball or football or just general sports. I was running into two problems. You had off seasons. And especially with certain sports, you have an off season. What are you going to be talking about in baseball come, the middle of December? So I had that. And then I had one guy who got pissed at me. There was a show I did years ago with my dad and my younger brother. And we had a brain fart for a second. We forgot who played the Hall of Fame game for the NFL. The game that nobody really gives two craps about.
Yeah.
And he got pissed at me and said, well, you should go into smooth jazz. And I looked at him, I'm like, because I forgot a match that is meaningless because nobody gives a rat's ass about it.
Yeah.
And so we had that. So, like I said, I've been doing this for 13 years. And I made the whole thing like, you know what? I wasn't going anywhere with this stuff. I kept living in that bad circle almost. And I was like, you know what? Let me put this as the last show. This is going to be my last go around. And since we started the show the end of November, I said, let me give it to the end of the year. If the show doesn't become something, then I'm walking away. I'm not going to put the effort in. Our first show we did was we did a watch along for Survivor Series 2021. We looked at the numbers afterwards. We had over 2,000 people watching.
Wow.
I was like, you know what? We have something here. But then after that, I had a whole conversation with the two guys who run the network. I said, look, network-wise stuff, I'll run things past you. That's not a problem. I said, but as far as how the show's laid out, all that stuff, I said, you leave that to me. Let me run it how I see fit. And they're like, okay, go right ahead. And that was almost 3 years ago in November.
Mm.
This show has gone through co-hosts left and right. There's been more backstage politics with this show than I could have ever imagined. And we had a co-host at the time who was part of the show for some time who got outed on Facebook, and I basically fired him.
Oh, wow.
And you guys, this podcast is actually the first time I'm talking about it. So you guys getting a major exclusive.
Breaking news. Wish I had the breaking news bubble. I don't have that. But oh well, don't need it.
But I'm not going to mention. But what I'm going to do is telling the story. I'm not going to mention names.
Okay, don't please.
What happened was we had a guy a part of the show who I thought was a good friend of mine. And there was a convention down in Baltimore called Baltimore Celeb Fest. And we were not, myself or anybody on the show, we were not vendors at all. We had known a lot of vendors, but we were never vendors. There was a vendor who asked us a question at the previous one, and the co-host got pissed off and said, you know what, we're going to become vendors. So he brought in 4 talents. I'll name the talents. Well, I'll name one of them at least. Mike Mondo, former WWE superstar Mike Mondo. He also brought in 3 independent people. I went down for the sole purpose of, it's a free vacation. Why not? And did everything. Some stuff happened that was very shady. He never gave them the deposit beforehand and all that stuff. So fast forward to a couple days after the show's done, I'm back home. And 2 of the wrestlers blocked me on Facebook because they feel like I was a part of it. Well, it seems like one of them decided to oust the other host on Facebook. And basically said that he was a creep. He was stalking them, the whole 9 yards. We literally had, in a time span of, me, in a time span of maybe 10 minutes, had 5 promotions call me, basically telling me if I don't fire him, they're not going to work with us anymore. And I looked at him like, okay, the show's not going to die this way. I'm like, I've gone at this way too long. I'm like, the show's not going to die like this. This happened 11 o'clock. By 11:05, I had a public statement put out basically saying that as of this point, this individual is no longer associated or a part of the show. We deeply apologize. That did nothing because there were some people who still thought. And I said, you know what? Give it time. I took a break from going to any indie shows for a couple weeks. Because I was like, let the dust settle. I go to a show. Actually, it was Recombination. I remember this vividly. I was talking to the promoter beforehand. I said, look, I'll come to the show. I said, I'll sit in the back. Nobody will know I'm there. I said, as long as, the wrestlers are okay with it, I'll sit in the back like nothing happened. He goes, okay, fine, not a problem. I show up. I was there with a friend of mine, and I looked at her because we had gone to the diner right by the Mecca. We were sitting at the diner. I'm like, you know what? It's time to bring the show back, but time to bring it back the right way. And ever since then, we basically have been going live every week since then. And this was, just to put it in the time perspective, this was right before WrestleMania 39. So this may have been like a month before WrestleMania 39.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was the only part of the 3 years that we were off air, was during all this crap. Him and I, the guy who I no longer associate with, for a while we're going at it. And we still sort of do to this day. Because he has said that I'm the reason why he's not allowed in any wrestling company in Jersey.
Mm.
And he keeps putting the blame on me. He has single-handedly tried to destroy me. But I look at it as, it's tough to destroy something that is gaining momentum, like Around the Ropes is.
Yeah, I guess we're in the same boat, because there's people in similar. I'll talk about we're not live.
I know with me, there's a lot of people who had high doubts. There's a lot of people who thought this show was going to sink once all that stuff happened. And I actually had a promoter reach out to me and tell me this recently. He goes, no, you have the battle scars to show it. He goes, you may have hit some bumps in the road. He goes, but look at it now. He goes, your show now is gaining popularity left and right. He goes, you're real with people. He goes, look at all these opportunities. I mean, as I was telling you beforehand, I'm working now with basically a company in every state in the Northeast except for New Hampshire and Vermont.
Mm.
I have 2 companies in Maine. I have a company in Connecticut. Well, Connecticut, Massachusetts. They do shows in both. Not Rhode Island. I'm hoping to get Rhode Island at some point. Jersey, I have a lot. PA, I have a lot. And upstate New York, I have a lot.
You should come out to PPW one day.
I definitely want to.
They're doing one on August 14th. If you don't have a show, come out. If I'm going to go, I'll message you and say, hey, John, I'll be in Slatington.
Yeah, I got to August 14th?
Yeah, August 14th, yeah. No, September 14th, back. My brain, I told my fans when you cut out, I was at Ben's Fresh in upstate New York, and I had dinner. I had 2 hot dogs with their pound of French fries they gave you, and my brain goes into like food coma brain mode.
Let me see, because I might have something to do with Titan that day, because I know Titan's doing another show.
Let them know about me, because I live in Milford, Pennsylvania, and if it's not that far from me, I would love to see Titan, because I love PJ. PJ Savage is my boy. He's my New York homeboy, and I've been meaning to meet and say hi to and give stickers and talk to Emily Jade, and her tag team partner is Dudes at Ringside, like past, because she's been on the podcast. The lawyer, you know, what I mean, her Emily's partner. Yeah. I heard so many things.
If you want to do that, my suggestion is come to Bree Combination.
Where is that?
Richfield Park, New Jersey.
Richmond Park. Okay, I gotta see. My job is really. They hit the wrestling button.
But no, like I said, with me, I've had the battle scars. I mean, the fact that I'll put it this way, I've had a few promotions already. Well, one of them specifically say to me when they do a Hall of Fame for this company, because he wants to start doing a Hall of Fame soon. He already said one of the names he wants to put in is me.
Wow. Congratulations, dude. That's cool.
Thank you.
And the thing is, because, you know, like most names don't get podcasters. Like, you also do other things with the wrestling promotions. You probably do like commentator. I'm just the man that's behind the mic talking to people.
Like, I've done. I mean, if I go through everything I've done commentating. I'll be doing ring announcing basically in about 24 hours or less than 24 hours now. Timekeeper, backstage correspondent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just said this to a friend of mine. I said, it's funny. I'm nothing more than a fan.
Yep.
So the fact that also I'm going from being a fan to being a part of this stuff. I mean, I go to shows now and the wrestlers know who I am and don't look at me as a fan. They look at me as you're one of the guys.
I get called Mr. Panther when I'm at the show, and then I have to correct them. My dad, I'm the son of Panther. My dad is Junior. So what? I had a wrestler in PPW. See, he came in with my suit jacket on. They're like, "Hey, Mr. Panther," and I said, "Oh, you mean my dad? I'm Joe Panther the third." And they're like, "No, you." My dad's like, "Randy, this is about you, Joe. This is about you." And I'm like, "But he's the." I was Kevin Harting him. I was like, "No, you don't mean me. You mean him."
With me, the biggest thing people know me for, not only just the podcast, for a while we had our own coffee line.
Ooh, I love coffee.
What happened was, I'll tell the story quickly. We had gone up to Albany, New York, for the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, which if you're in the area, definitely go check it out.
Ooh.
They have their Hall of Fame is at the MVP Arena.
Ooh.
The only thing is, you got to go on a day that the MVP Arena either has a show, because they're not open. It's not like a regular Hall of Fame where it's like, oh, they're open Monday to Friday, 9 to 9. They're only open when there's a show, or if it's the weekend of the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which this year is October 13th.
So it's a wrestling Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a Hall of Fame that's in upstate. Maybe it's that one that my dad wants to talk to them and see if they could put my grandfather's picture in the Hall of Fame, because my grandfather wrestled in upstate New York. He did the New York. See, when you get to your side of the asking me questions, I'm going to tell you all about my
absolutely. Absolutely.
Continue your story. Sorry.
Yeah, but go check out. If you go to Facebook, type in International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Okay. They're up in Albany. Great group of guys, and we were up there back in 2022. Like I said, they had a whole Hall of Fame weekend where they do an induction ceremony, a show, the whole 9 yards. There's a coffee company up there called Motor Oil Coffee. And they had a coffee thing at the show. And I was like, oh, let's give it a shot. And the coffee was delicious. So I was talking to, that's why my thing's not charging. So I was like, no, you're good. You're good. Because I just got the thing that said battery saver on. So
when you're on your iPhone, the thing turns yellow. Yeah.
No, what happened was I'm on my laptop and I forgot I never replugged in my laptop.
Oh god. Yeah, it's like my cell phone's on yellow right now, and I'm scared I'm gonna look down and my phone's gonna be black. I'm gonna be like,
But no, but what happened was, sorry about that.
That's okay.
But what happened was, I was talking to the guy and I was like, you know what? Everybody has t-shirts and hats for podcasts. I'm like, I want to be, because that was one thing I always said with the shows. I want to be different. I mean, you know this. There's 9,000 wrestling podcasts.
Oh, so many.
I was like, what makes us different? And I was like, what about having our own coffee line? And I remember we sat down. It was me, my co-host at the time, the owner, and the guy from the show. I think we had maybe 2 meetings, and then we had our own coffee. And it was really mind-blowing, to say the least. But last thing, then I'll put you in the hot seat after this.
Okay.
Some guests I've had on, because this part I love telling people, because their heads spin when I tell them, not so much the independent guys, but when I tell you the big names we've had on the show. We've had on Mark Henry on the show. Ooh. Larry Zbyszko's been on the show. Nikita Koloff has been on the show. The biggest one we've ever had on was Sean Kanan.
Oh, wow.
From Cobra Kai, we had him on. Trying to think here. More from like the independent stuff. We've had on Vicious Vicky.
I love Vicious Vicky.
We've had on Darius Carter twice already. I've had Crowbar on.
Haven't had him on yet.
I've had Joel Gertner on.
Oh, wow.
I've had on, go down the list of who I've had. It's become like a who's who.
You know who you should also ask? She's only on Facebook. The legendary female wrestler, Brittany Brown.
I'll definitely check it. I definitely want to.
Brittany Brown wrestled about the same time with the legendary manager that managed Shawn Michaels when he was the boy toy.
Oh, Sherry Martel?
Yeah, she wrestled with Sherry.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Brittany
Definitely.
Brown is a sweet. Oh God, I had her back on when I started getting solo with this podcast. Brittany Brown is a sweet. Oh my God, her stories. Old school women's wrestling stories is just grit. The grit of the old school women's wrestling revolution is beautiful.
I mean, okay,
Oh.
I'll tell you, I've never had her on as a guest, but I want to try to get her on. The first female referee from WWE, Rita Marie.
I haven't had her on, but that sounds fun.
But her, I can kind of work through some avenues because I kind of work with her with Dynasty. But no, like I said, I mean, at this point, I don't really have like a dream opponent, a dream guess, because none of these I ever thought was ever going to happen. So I there was one that I was in talks with, but his price was extremely high.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Dijak.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like I was literally in talks with Dijak literally the day after he got released. But he told me his price. I said, yeah, no, I'm good.
I heard for England. I heard a wrestler she wanted to is I'm not gonna say her name, but she's a really good name in England. Nightmare. Oh, but it sounds like a night. Oh, she wanted to charge a lot of money. I'm not gonna say how much.
Yeah, I've had that happen plenty of times where like I've had guys because I've paid for a few guests here and there.
I never pay for guests. They know they could tell I do it for love of wrestling, and I will promote the hell out of them and their brand.
Well, like I look at it, I'll give you an example, like Sean Kanan, for example. When he said that he does it, and he told me how much he does it for, I was able to actually haggle him down.
Oh wow!
Originally he wanted 600.
I
said I can do 200. He goes, okay, fine. I'm like, wait, what? So we've had him, like I said, we've had him on plenty of time. We've had him on before. I'm trying to think here. Who else from the independent level? Dr. Sleepy, Anthony Gangone has been on the show.
He liked my brand, and he told me message him in October.
Well, funny story with that. He's in a feud right now with Anthony Cole over Breed Combination. And I bring this up because it was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. Had him on. It was in Storyline. One of the best interviews I've ever done because I went his whole issue is he feels like management did not push him enough when he was the Grand Dragon champion, which is one of the titles that this company has. And I looked at him, I said, well, if you feel like the company didn't push you that much, how come you didn't push yourself?
Ooh.
After he looked at me, he goes, I said to him, I'm like, how'd that go? He goes, honestly, it was really freaking, like I have people now who look at me, they're like, why is he such an ass? But like literally got to the point that, because the whole premise of it was this is before their last show, which was the Grand Rumble, and he was the number one entrant. And I said to him on the show, I said, Anthony would have given you a title shot if you didn't do what you did.
Oh.
And he made a comment of, yeah, I go, so let me ask you this though. I said, what possessed your mind to want to get thrown into a ring now with 20 other people for a shot at something you could have easily had a shot at if you would have just, been an adult about it. So fast forward on the last show I just did, we had on Billy Fetsky to promote the upcoming Titan show. And Anthony started chiming in, so I started going at it with him. And you see Billy sitting there going, John, choose your words carefully. So I turned around to him. I said, well, I guess some wrestlers don't like it when podcasters ask them the tough questions and don't sugarcoat it. And then the next line I say out of my mouth is, maybe they're in the wrong industry if they don't like that. And Billy looks at me. He goes, are you trying to get killed? I'm like, no. I'm like, it's true though, because this isn't me trying to shoot at other podcasters, but I have a big issue with these podcasters who sit there and try to play belly up to all these promoters. It's like, okay, you don't have to play nice with everybody. That's the way I look at it. To me, it's you don't have to play nice with everybody.
Yep. That's why
I really said this. No,
I'm not liked by one promoter on Long Island, not saying the name of the promotion, but the only reason they don't like me is because other people saying one person had to. I'm allowed to curse on this podcast. One person had to shit in the pool about my name, and the promoter doesn't want to talk to me anymore, and they blocked me on Instagram.
I think I know which promoter you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I know which one you're talking about, but
yeah, we'll talk about it one more.
yeah. But no, but like I said, that's why it's funny though, because living on Long Island, I don't go to a lot of shows on Long Island. And most of the shows I go to are either like I know I have the show tomorrow in Seaside Heights. Next week I'm in the Monster Factory.
I know people that were trained by them. I know the oh my gosh. Sorry for interrupting you again. I did it again. Spray. I gotta get myself a spray bottle. Like you know, you spray a cat when they're getting annoying.
You're good.
Wrong way. Yeah.
But
my boys, my favorite stable that are in PPW, they were trained in the Monster Factory. They were a trio.
I'll be there next week, and then I got nothing in September. And then October is going to be insane. Because October, I start off in Enfield, Connecticut in the beginning of October for Blitzkrieg.
Oh, wow.
October 13th, I have Albany for their Hall of Fame induction night. October 19th, I'm in Elmwood Park, New Jersey for a show being done between DJ Storms and ECPW. October 20th, I'm in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey for Bree Combination. On October 26th, I'm in Philly for Battleground.
I live in Milford, Pennsylvania, and like the only promotions for me that I go with my pops. My dad, he's as being the son of a wrestler, he really doesn't like wrestling, but he'll come support me. Father and son, family tradition. That's what everybody loves about seeing how I keep the family tradition going. Even though my dad doesn't do it, he watches me just jump on and do my thing. But like, is there ever a promotion that you've gone to that you just gone and sat in the last row and you go, this promotion, I don't know if I want to do this one. And then you just back away. You don't say a name. Has ever been to a show that you just sat in the back row and you just like, man, I don't really know these people. And you just left and that I don't know if I want to go. Come back to this one.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There was one, but it was more of had to leave for other reasons, not because of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I said, I told you the one I went to in Allentown, PA. I got the tickets. I went in and the crowd, I'm normally used to having people like go, oh, I know you. Oh, I saw your podcast. Oh, I've seen you. I wear my blue jacket. It's still February. It's still a little chilly. And I'm standing outside shivering my butt off because I'm wearing my shirt, short sleeve shirt. Idiot Joe should have wore long sleeves. And everybody's looking at me like, who's this guy? And I'm like, oh, subscribe to my channel. They're like, who are you? I'm like, Dudes at Ringside. What's Dudes at Ringside? I'm like, I had to do more. Yeah, no one knew what it was.
No, I was gonna say like another opportunity I have is for Battleground. I'm their lead commentator.
Yeah,
I'm the voice of Battleground, and in October they have a big show coming up, and two of the matches that I get to call. I said this to a few people, and they kind of looked at me like you get to call these two. What if I were to tell you that one of the matches I'm calling in October 26th, live from the 2300 Arena, is featuring Masada taking on Christian Ross.
Whoa.
And then the other one, and this one I'm blown away that I get to call this one, is Casey Navarro versus former WWE superstar Shelton Benjamin.
Ooh, Mr. Benjamin. Wow.
I also get to call Alec Alden taking on Elijah, formerly known as Elias from WWE. I also get to call a triple threat women's match between Vicious Vicky, Danny Moe, and Gabby Ortiz.
Oh, Gabby Ortiz, yeah.
I know there's a six-person tag. There's a six-person tag match, and the one thing with Timothy Embler is he'll have other matches announced before we get to October. But yeah, the fact I get to call Shelton Benjamin's debut in the Northeast is being called by me.
Wow. You know, you probably felt a little like
that happened at the last show that I was at, the one that they just did July 4th weekend. And one of the matches I got to call, first time ever dream match, is James Storm versus Jake Hager.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I forgot another match. Dog collar match for the Philadelphia Street Fight Championship between Drake Younger and some guy named Shellac.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So the joke I basically said with that one is make sure if you get tickets, and I think promo tickets are sold out, but I think tickets are still available. Make sure you bring a poncho or an umbrella because things might get bloody.
Yeah. That's right. I told my buddy Hector today, I was like, I showed him the clip with Mickey Knuckles, and I told him if me and him ever went to a death match show, we would have to sit in the last row, even though I'm the dudes at ringside, because I don't want to be going home and then Hector gets in the car and he's like, what the hell? I have a big light tube sticking out of my neck. Well, that's what happens when you go to death match, dude. And you'll bring a poncho.
But no, I mean it's been insane the last 3 years with this show.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna go up from here.
Yeah.
But
I feel this, yeah.
I got 2 questions for you.
Okay. Hit me.
Since you've been doing the show now by yourself,
Yeah.
do you find it more difficult or easier without having a co-host?
I find it easier because now I could book my episodes, talk to the guest on the Instagram or the Facebook, and be able to knock down a date. And if I have to change the date, I feel that the guests are easier to talk to now. And they're a little more easygoing to change a date. Like if I'm seeing Gabriel Iglesias, if I would have made a boo-boo and accidentally booked the episode for next Friday, I could easily just go on Insta and be like, hey, I stopped using the word buddy because I got myself in trouble back in the day for saying buddy to a wrestler. But hey, can we possibly reschedule for the following Friday?
Yeah.
And they're all like, yeah, no problem, dude. I understand. Like with you, we had to do something and change the date. And you saw how easygoing I was. I'm like, oh, dude, no problem.
Yeah.
I feel the StreamYard, you could just flip and change the date, the date we're going live.
Exactly. And a lot of times, like I'll do it, and I usually record most of the stuff.
In the beginning, when I first started, my very first guest I ever interviewed, here we go. Dang it! You should ask me that. Ask me more of those question things about my interviews and everything. That's what I.
Yeah, I don't have. Who was the first person you ever interviewed?
Ever interview by myself or like just in general?
By yourself.
By myself, it was Lady Blakely from H2O, and I was with my pops. I was with my daddy. He was not ready for death match. He was like a CO. My dad's a CO. My dad's a retired CO for 21 years. And she told the story to me and my dad that they stuck in one of those big needles, the sewing needles, through her cheek. And my dad's like, oh shit. Oh my God. Like, yeah.
No, the one thing with me, except for when I do YouTube exclusives.
Yeah.
I never record. I'm always live.
Yeah.
And I've done that for 3 years now. Been live every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern.
I should have been live all along, but I just felt that something was going to happen. Somebody was going to say something in the chat that I would have went like I was back in the day. If you watch the old episodes, somebody would say something in the chat, and I'm half Latino and I'm half Italian. As soon as I see something in the chat I don't like, I'm going to react. I was the loudmouth. I'm Latino. I'm like the little Joe Pesci with the red glasses. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of here. Like that.
I look at it as the one that I like with the StreamYard setup is you can get the comments up on the side.
Yeah.
I've learned already. I'll look at the comment beforehand, and if it's appropriate, I'll click it to bring it up. If not, I won't even bring it up. I've done that plenty of times.
Like that's when I grabbed my friend that does the art. She commented right there, and she'll say things like,
"Yeah, no, I definitely want to get in contact with her, or even really have her message me at some point because I definitely would love to get some artwork done for the podcast of like, because it's funny. Where is it? I have it.
She did one of my grandfather. I have to grab it when I'm done. She drew it and she sent it to me in the mail. She sent me my pop. She did a really special one for me. I can't wait to get it in the mail. She did one of Grandpa of Jose Quinones. Oh, I can't wait to put that next to my pop. I'm gonna cry when that pop gets put down on my desk.
Here's the funny one. Do you remember when fat heads were a thing?
Yeah, I remember those. I need one of myself. I need one. Is that still around?
There was a show I used to do called The Nation Show back in the day through Busted Open. And we had fat heads made. And I just found mine recently. And actually, here's another thing I have. Remember I said I did commentary for Battleground?
Yeah.
This was the first. This poster means the world to me for one reason. Not because it's women on here. The first match card I ever commentated for.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I got to, with this one, the fact that I got to call, that the funny story with that was, at one point, I wasn't on for 3 of the matches because it was the Lisa Marie Verone Cup they were doing. And what if I were to tell you Missy Sampson, who was one of the head trainers at the Monster Factory, her and Lisa Marie Verone kicked me off commentary. And somebody looked at me afterwards, they're like, aren't you upset by that? I'm like, upset that Lisa Marie Verone, Victoria from WWE, kicked me off commentary?
She talks more than me. She talks. I love Victoria. She was one of my favorite hardcore. Like, she got hit in the head with, I think, in the face with a whatever, and her nose started bleeding. Actually, I have a fun story. After you're done telling your story about Beth Phoenix, about when I was in Scranton. You want me to tell you a story now?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I went to a show with my buddy Valor Club guy. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's from PA. He's a cool dude. He always goes to here we go. Valor Club guy is one of those ringside guys you always catch on camera. He's tall, skinny guy with glasses. Me and him went to Scranton.
Like,
what's that?
Green shirt guy?
Yeah. He's got skinny. He's got glasses. Dark skin.
Yeah, I've probably seen him before.
Yeah, we went to Wilkes-Barre for a Raw. We bumped into R-Truth. I said, Justin, Beans, R-Truth's inside. So we ran there, got an autograph. We're in the parking lot, and Beth Phoenix at the show busted her nose. I think she broke her nose. Long story short, we're outside. Everybody's signing autographs. All the wrestlers are signing. Beth Phoenix, everybody's starting. I turn around. Beth Phoenix is standing right there. She's signing autograph. Me and Beth Phoenix are like, she's holding my arms like this. I'm 5'1", so I'm looking up at her like this. And I said, did you get a boo-boo? And she's like, yeah. And I'm little, so I'm always like, I'm like the Bailey. I'm like, a hug. And all girls, I'm little. All like, hug, teddy bear, feel better. Gave her a hug. And she leaned into me, and I was like, I'm like, we're close to her cheek, so I kissed her on the cheek. So we're like, and she did this. She gave me the look she used to give to Santino that. And she did this to me. Swear to God, she went, good thing you're cute. And she signed my SmackDown cover, and I walked away. And she was like, have a nice day. I said, you too. I'm sorry, Beth. And she's like, you're adorable. Keep going.
No, I'm trying to think here. Any weird interaction? Okay, I got one interaction I've had that was weird. 2019, I went to Vegas for Double or Nothing. The first one they ever did. The one where Moxley debuted.
Oh, yeah.
I was there for that one live. And we were there in Vegas for a couple of days. We're walking down one of the main streets down in Vegas, and there's a guy sitting at a McDonald's. Yeah, hopefully that gave away of who it was, with me just saying yeah.
Yeah.
This is when he was still under Eli Drake. And he was sitting there. I think he was with his girlfriend at the time. And I was like, I don't want to bother him. And the guy I was with, he goes, no. He goes, go talk to him. Like, but, I was always told, give the wrestlers their space, this, that, another thing. And had a whole conversation with him. And he was so... I don't think I've ever met a wrestler who's ever been a prick. Let me put it that way. But no, it's like I said, this whole wrestling world has been crazy. The fact that I get to go to a show tomorrow and be a special guest ring announcer just blows me away.
I just wish that somebody would approach me to do something like you're doing, because I've been doing once again, the hot dogs are hitting me again. Doctor, save me. I've been doing this 4 years. I've talked to wrestlers from halfway across the globe, from as far as London, England, from Kiara all the way to down under, from Savannah Summers to Izzy Shaw, to like all the way up to legendary status, to like Mickey Knuckles, to Brittany Brown. And I've never had a chance to work commentary. I've asked wrestling promotions, can I help you guys? And the only thing they've ever asked me for is they do like the thing from Home Alone. You just say, you want something, you have to give us something. And I'm just like, I want to help. I'm not asking for like anything, but just to get my leg in the door and just to help you guys. Yeah, that's all. So I want.
I totally get that. Little advice I can give for that is become friends with a lot of these promoters, because I'll give you an example, like me with Battleground. I never thought in a million years I would ever be doing commentary, especially for a company like Battleground in one of the most legendary buildings in all of pro wrestling, the former ECW building.
That's so cool.
Yeah. What happened? The story with that is I had gone down there for WrestleMania weekend to do a live podcast from the show, which I still thought was awesome as it is. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be coming back here. A few months go by, and all of a sudden Timothy Ambler messages me on Facebook. And he goes, I got a question for you. I said, okay, what's up? He goes, ever thought about doing commentary? Or have you ever done commentary? And I said, yeah, I've done it once, like for one match type of deal. I said, I've always wanted to do it. And he goes, no pressure. He goes, how would you feel about doing commentary for a Battleground? I'm like, I think it took me 10 seconds to respond back to him. I said, I'm in. And he came on, and you can go watch it. It's over on our YouTube video, our YouTube channel. Him making the announcement, and I literally break down. Because I always figured if I ever was going to make my commentary debut, it would have been some rinky-dink VFW hall or something, or, some no-name place, some no-name building. Yeah, I didn't think my commentary debut was going to be, oh, yeah, for Battleground, which, yeah, they're not a big company, but when I say the building, and people are like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, that building's called the 2300 Arena, or formerly known as the ECW building.
Yep. There's a good Philly cheese place apparently around the block. There's a good Philly cheesesteak place.
Yeah. There's also another good place over there called a donut place.
That's what I heard. I heard about that place.
I had food there during WrestleMania weekend. And I will say this much. The fact that the promoter already said to me, he figures by sometime next year I'm going to have 8x10s.
Oh, wow.
And another guy came up to me and said, he actually said it, I don't remember if he said it on a video that I did or something. And he goes, I've seen a lot of podcasts. He goes, but you are one of the best ones I've ever seen. Like, I have a guy who watches our show regularly who lives in the UK, who stays up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the show. And but the funny thing is, he's watched the show since day one.
Wow. You should actually, from the UK, you should definitely on Instagram approach Kiara.
I definitely.
She's a lovely lady. She went to Cambridge University, so her character's very like haughty-taughty, and she speaks the King's English, so she sounds very proper when she talks. But she's and she's a nerd like us. So you could hit her with this, and this will warm her up immediately. She loves Dragon Ball Z, and she loves anime. So you hit her with the nerd talk, you talk nerdy to her, and she'll open up. she'll be like, friender, like friendly friend.
Biggest thing with me, and I said this to a lot of people, is I try to push myself to be like Busted Open. That similar type of show, like if you listen to like Dave during the week, when it's mostly Dave and Bully, That's what I try to push for around the ropes. And I've actually had conversations with Dave. I said this to him last August when he got inducted into the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Albany. I saw him at the sign. I said to him, I said, look, I said, I've been wanting to tell you this for a while. I said, if it wasn't for Busted Open, there would not be Around the Ropes podcast. I said, you guys basically made it that talking pro wrestling is fun again. And I said this for a while. Busted Open is the Howard Stern of pro wrestling. If they know who you are, it means you're doing something right.
He knew who knows what. Immediately he saw me at ISPW in New Jersey when they did it. He saw me, and he was like, "Whoa, I know you! Oh, dude,
yeah, man, he's good."
Oh, he did interview me. It's on the Instagram page. He was wearing a yellow jacket with the black collar, like he usually shows up. I don't want to mark out, but he's such a nice guy. One of the funniest, sweetest guys you'll ever meat. He hugged me. I was like, oh my God, Cracker hugged me.
Okay. Here's the funny thing. You want your laugh? There's a video of it at the 2300 Arena for the Busted Open party for WrestleMania weekend. They were doing the whole thing with Dave and The Rock. They were going back and forth, the whole 9 yards. So Dave comes in. Now, mind you, we're standing outside the 2300 Arena, and there's a bus that shows up with The Rock's energy drink. And so Dave comes walking down, says hi to everybody. Funny story is, I was standing there. I didn't have the pink robe on. I had my Immortal Championship Wrestling sweatshirt on. Dave didn't see me. His wife, Violetta, who I've met her several times over the years, turned around and he goes up and down the whole thing, walks up. He goes back up to his wife, and his wife turns around and goes, "Go say hi to John." And he walks up to me and he said, he looks at me, he goes, "I'm glad you made it." He goes, "And I'm very proud of your success right now." And I kind of sat there and I'm like, yeah, I think I made it.
Mm.
But just, talking to him, I mean, I'm hoping one day to get that opportunity.
Like for myself, and like that I'm so glad to have you on, because you've been doing this thing now only for 3 years, but like I've been doing it for 4. But if there's any kids out there that want to get in the same situation as myself or you, like what kind of advice would you have for them, these kids now that keep saying, I want to start a podcast, like what kind of advice would you have for them?
Honest advice: be prepared for the grind. Be prepared to get told no hundreds of times, but know that if you keep pushing forward, eventually you'll get to the top. And I'm not saying I'm at the top yet. I'm far from it. But with the amount of times I've been told no, I should have walked away from this stuff 2.5 years ago. Probably the biggest thing is be prepared for the grind and be prepared for the dedication, because this is going to become probably the most fun unpaid job you'll ever have. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, and this was taught to me by somebody who basically said, you got to be consistent. If you do a show once every couple of months, nobody's going to know who you are. But doing it like I've been doing it for 3 years now, 8 o'clock every Tuesday night. Yeah. So to kind of give a long-winded answer to what you asked, I think I would tell kids now, don't give up. You're going to get told no. But as long as you find your niche and you stick to it, nothing can stand in your way.
Awesome.
And I'm the prime example of that, because of how I've been doing this for 13 years, and I've been told for 13 years, oh, you don't have what it takes. You're not a good host. You don't know what you're doing, all that stuff. And now literally I have people now who watch shows that I do, who watch interviews I do, and they look at me, they're like, what the hell happened to you? It's also, I think the other thing is also, it's how you approach it. I approach every show as if somebody's watching it from a radio station or Sirius XM or whatever. So that's like with me, I don't have questions before like I do an interview, but like when I do a show, I'll make sure I have some sort of outline put together. And not an outline where it's timed per se. Like, I don't do one where it's like, oh, from 7 to 7:10, I'm going to be talking about this. I look at it as whatever, like I look at it as I have it as my bullet points.
Yeah.
Because I look at it as, okay, these are the topics I want to get to. So I know before, like I'll do a show, for example, I do a show Tuesday nights. Wednesday, I don't do anything for the show. By Thursday, I start planning for the show the following week. Because a lot of times I'll have guests already planned, so I'll kind of work it around with the guests. And like, I'll give you an example. When it's a week of a pay-per-view, I know one of the segments I'm doing is previewing the pay-per-view or the PLE, because I have to be, I have to say politically correct now because we can't say pay-per-view.
I'm an old school guy. I'm 41. I remember saying pay-per-view. I still say fucking pay-per-view. I don't care what these kids say.
But like, I'll do it is by Sunday. I usually have everything laid out. Usually the show is scheduled and usually on Facebook by Sunday, and then I'll do like two posts where I'll bring the show up again and say, hey, by the way, we're live in an hour, tune in. And then a lot of times, I haven't really figured out if this has actually helped or not. I'll do a Facebook Live beforehand.
Yeah.
Like maybe
I had to go live on Instagram, but I get back from wherever I'm going so late that I never can go live on Instagram and talk about the live or have the wrestler join me. I get worried that if I do that, I'm going to keep rambling on and I'll forget to look at my computer screen and be like, oh crap, the guest is actually sitting there in the seat staring at me as I'm talking at my phone. Like, whoop. 5 minutes later.
So usually by Monday night, usually by 9:30 or so Monday night, I usually have kind of like the final plan of how I'm going to put the show together. And there's been shows I've done that have been great because I've had no outline.
Yeah.
Like I'll go literally, like if I get a comment in the comment section, I'll literally just go with that and that'll become a whole conversation in itself. Because I look at it as it's two-way talk, but it's not really two-way talk. And I say that because I don't take phone calls. But I do have a lot of fan interaction. So it's sort of like taking phone calls. And if they have something they want to bring up, I'll talk. And the one thing with me is nothing's ever set in stone. Like I never sit there and say, okay, we're talking AEW. We have to talk AEW. No. Like I know, I'll give you an example. I'm not sure if I'm doing the show this week. I might be taking the week off just because of everything going on. I kind of need a break for 1 week. I know it's bad timing on my end because it's coming off of All In on Sunday. But what I might do with that realistically is Monday night do a quick YouTube show. Like sort of what I might do is Sunday after the show, because I think the show on Sunday is like at 1:00, I think, is do like an instant reaction video right after. So at least I have something coming out. But no, like I said, it's a lot of work, a lot of dedication. But I think in the end, as long as you put your mind to it, nothing's ever going to stop you. I mean, I'm the prime example of it.
Yeah, it's something that we both have put our like feet on this podcast road and we've been on separate roads, but we saw each other driving in that my car. I had to rebuild my car a little bit to the one seat car with the microphone on the hood of the car, change it up a little bit. But as I say, my plane never stopped flying. I've always stood, even though there's a lot of bullet holes in my plane because a lot of damage and language that has been said about this car. But you know what about this podcast is a blessing in disguise because I'm a person with a disability. I learned to do this. I learned about the awesome microphone that I listened to as a child by a New York legend, Elvis Duran. Every single morning, I grew up waking up to hearing the call letters of Z100. Elvis every morning, Elvis and Elliot. And then as I tell people, oh, so what is it like? Oh, how do you still do this podcast? Is dude, not dudes. I go, here we go. This is a story before we go. I tell this to people all the time. back in the day, there was a show called Elvis and Elliot and the Morning Zoo. It was good, ran for a while. Elliot left. Elvis Duran continued and kept the Z Morning Zoo alive. Kept it going, kept his whole gang. Elliot left. So if Elvis Duran, the king of the New York market, can keep Elvis in the Z Morning Zoo going, I can keep Dudes at Ringside going as long as I live. As long as there's air coming through these lungs, I can do anything.
That's like with me with Around the Ropes. I've had 3 other co-hosts. And at this point, I'm like, I'm doing this stuff by myself. But I mean, last thing I will mention, I know it's being brought back again, but you'll also be able to, within the next couple of weeks, listen to the show as well now.
Yeah. Spotify.
Yep, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, but I know that's going to be taking a couple of weeks.
I'm trying to get on Apple Music. Do you have to sign into your iTunes to get into that?
Yeah, you have to go through Apple. It's a little bit more of a hectic process with that. And then you got to make sure that the logo you put in matches. It's like I said, it's a whole hoopla of stuff.
Oh gosh. So before we go, if you want to talk about your how my fans could find all of your stuff for Around the Ropes podcast.
Absolutely. First of all, I greatly appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun. You realize now I'm gonna have to return the favor and have you on my show.
Oh yes. I want to come on your show so I can tell you the story of my learning about my grandfather, learning about the day I found really short. I'll tell you a short story about it before you start promoting all the fun stuff you do. I learned about it the week before I went to Madison Square Garden for a house show before the WrestleMania when Hogan faced Slaughter.
Okay.
And before the boot camp match, my dad showed me a picture of my grandfather. It almost sounds like what he wrote to it. My dad told me when I was younger that my grandfather was a professional wrestler. And I knew as a 9-year-old boy sitting on the couch with my dad staring at the picture of my grandfather, I had to do this for him. I never met him. He died before I was born.
So you have to finish your story?
Yes. Always. And then I find out mid-pandemic, I have Pete Sanchez, which just recently passed away a few weeks ago. And then I find out I have another cousin in my family, Frank Martinez, the Blue Demon. So I have a bloodline. I have a bloodline in my family.
But no, I definitely, like I said, I'm very appreciative that you had me on. And I'm also appreciative of the kind words you said before about the podcast. It means it. I know I've been doing this stuff now for 3 years, but when I have people who turn around to me and say, I listen to your stuff, you're one of the good, you're one of the better ones, it kind of gives you that push.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm greatly appreciative of it. You guys can find me. I'm on all social media accounts. Just search Around the Ropes Podcast. And best thing, look for that logo right there. You see that logo? Now it's silver on it because we actually had to update a little bit. If you go to Facebook, you'll see the logo I'm talking about. Look for that logo. That's where you'll have all of our show updates. You can watch the show from there. If you are on YouTube, go to Around the Ropes Podcast. I'm actually going to pull up right now how many subscribers we're up to now, because I think we're up to last I checked it was we're up to 65 subscribers.
Wow, dude, 65. But everybody, this my chat. Go look up Around. Don't leave. Open another browser. Better not hear any crumpy music, guys. Change the browser. Look them up. Search them. Subscribe right now. Give them a giant subscribe from me, the Panther. Give them love because they give me love. Give them some love because it's all around.
For anybody who this is the one you want to look for right here.
There you go. Round the Ropes Podcast.
because I know we have other ones where it's the new ATI network. Those are our older ones. This is the Round the Ropes podcast with this logo is our most recent one. Guys, I'd say this a lot. You guys are worth keeping the show going. The fans are worth keeping the show going because once we hit 100 subscribers, then I can have a custom URL. But I keep pushing it. Believe me, I keep pushing to get to that 100. I mean, we're getting much closer than I thought we were.
It's easy to get to 100, but it's hard to get to 1,000 because when I finally got to that push at 999, I was like, nah, I'm not going to get it. And then a week later, I saw it at 1,000 on my the YouTube studios.
Yeah.
And I was just like, my mom, my mom's like, go to your YouTube. You should I'm going to see your studios. And as soon as I clicked it, it went did the thing. And then the whole screen turned blue and I saw fireworks. And my mom's like, screenshot that now. Mama Panther says, screenshot it now, Randy. Screenshot. You're going to lose it. And I screenshot it. And I have it on my phone. I could show you later. It just tells you a blue screen. It says, congratulations, you have hit 1,000 subscribers.
Like, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to my YouTube studio right now. And the biggest thing I have, the one thing I like is they tell you the top content you have. And remember I was telling you before about that showdown I had?
Yeah.
In the last month, it's been my most viewed video in the last 28 days.
Another person that will give you a lot of views, he's a really good wrestler, Lucius Crow.
The name sounds familiar.
He's like, I'm 5'1", he's about my height, and he's buffer. He looks like a brick shit house.
Gotcha.
Dude, he has this voice that sounds like he got left in a smoke shop for a year. He sounds like this when he talks.
Well, like, here's the funny thing. Not on here, but if I go through Facebook, and you can go through, the towns that most people view you from.
Yeah.
You're going to laugh when I tell you this. I have maybe a few views from Long Island.
Wow.
Most of my views, and that's why I always say this area has become my home, is upstate New York. Albany, Troy. Because also I was looking one day, I'm like, I'm a Long Island podcast, yet I don't see Laurel Park, Garden City. No. I see Albany, I see Troy. I'm like, what is it? Most people who follow me, no, I don't even, but like I said, go find me on there. We're live every Tuesday night. Don't know if we're gonna be live this week. I got to see how that's all gonna play out. But guys, like I said, we're live most Tuesdays. And the one thing with me is I'm very good at being open about it on Facebook. If we're not gonna be live, I will put a post out early enough. Like, I would never just not do a show. But no, like I said, I'm very appreciative of you having me on. And if you ever want to do this again, I'm always game.
Oh yeah, dude. We'll do something before the end of the year. We'll do like a recap of the year, the year in indie, and we could try to get you, if you want to talk to Papa Dang, maybe he could join us for like his end of it. Have a bunch of dudes on here. Even who the Dirty Heels are?
Yep, I know exactly who the Dirty Heels are.
See if we can talk to the Dirty Heels, see if they can come in, do like some recap of their end, where they've seen in the indies. Even if Anthony Blackwell Jr. wants to see if he wants to join us, have a big roundtable of the indies recap of all the fun stuff that's happened in this year.
Like I said, I also want to give a shout out to Papa Dang. I'll be live with him tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern over on my channel and his channel ahead of Titan Championship Wrestling returning to Seaside Heights.
Wow.
So you're not going to want to miss that. Did want to make also one quick mention. Not my podcast, but another podcast that I'm good friends with. If you go to YouTube, type in Matriarchs of the Mat. That's all one word. They don't have a lot of episodes out now, but the stuff they have out now is actually pretty damn good. And I've said this for a while. I usually don't give the rub to many people because I've been screwed over plenty of times. But when it comes to Matriarchs of the Mat, go check them out. They are two moms who talk wrestling, but actually know what the hell they're talking about.
Gotta tell them about my podcast. I love having the female perspective on what's going on in the wrestling world.
I definitely will. But like I said, definitely go check them out. Matrix of the Mat. They do phenomenal stuff. Go check out Papa Dank with Beyond the Barricade. The one thing with me is I try to give love to as many other podcasts as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, definitely go give a like to them. Because guys, I've said this before on Around Those podcasts. Myself, you, any of the podcasts that you guys see out there, we're not out there if it's not for you guys. So you guys are what keep this train going. Yeah. And believe me, none of us get paid unless you're, a Steve Austin or a Chris Jericho, where you're making money off this. None of us are making money off this.
Yep.
We're doing this for the fun of this.
Yep. That's why my letter I send to wrestlers. I do this for the love of professional wrestling. I'm not getting paid.
No, me neither. But
I got a real job. That they yell at me when I want to ask off to go to a wrestling show or help out.
Like, nice part is the job I have is Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
That's the nice part is my job is Monday to Friday, and most wrestling shows aren't gonna be like on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I'm very appreciative that you had me on. And guys, you can also, if you want to find me, to friend me, that right there, search John Blaine. You'll see this beautiful, handsome mug. And actually, the picture I have is now. Actually, I'll tell the story very quickly, then we'll wrap up. You can see I like to talk a lot.
That's why I used to get myself in trouble. I'm a talker.
I go to a lot of concerts. I've been to quite a few concerts this summer. Foo Fighters, Jason Aldean, Imagine Dragons, the whole 9 yards. Went with the girlfriend to go see Imagine Dragons. And the story behind the profile photo, actually, I'll see if I can pull up the profile quickly. You're going to laugh. Is they have a VIP setup where they have it where you can get food and stuff. And I kid you not, this was me in the middle of a downpouring rainstorm eating my food as the skies opened up.
Oh, God. Oh, my God, I'll be so pissed. My nachos are drenched.
And then also, I'll just mention this again. Tomorrow, Seaside Heights, Titan Championship Wrestling.
Please come out, guys. Come please support.
Right there, that handsome fella is going to be the special guest ring announcer. Oh, yeah, that's me.
Remember to wear sunblock, people. I know it's going to be blazing hot because it's supposed to be hot this weekend.
Yeah. All I know is I will, but
plenty of water bottles.
Like I said, I'm very appreciative, though, of being on here.
No problem, man. I definitely would love to have you back on. Please tell your friends. If you haven't subscribed to his YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Joe Panther Variety Show. Really helps me a lot. I've been on this thing. This channel's been around since 9 years. Because of Ghost Head Talk / Ghost Head Nerd Talk. Definitely give it a like. Give him a subscribe. Help us all. Hashtag support independent wrestling. My new one. Hashtag support global independent wrestling. Hashtag local support. I'm out loud saying hashtag, but hashtag local podcasts. And I am, let me end this out with the jibber jabber. I am Joe Panther III.
I'm John.
And we will catch you in the next one.